I am recording. Okay, here we go. Is it working?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so it is 2/2. It's Groundhog's Day. It is Groundhog's Day.
Weeks of winter.
Yeah. Okay, so the quadratic formula. Okay, so highlight this. So what happens if it won't factor? You could complete the square. But if completing the square sometimes gets really ugly with sometimes if it's fractions or decimals. So there is this foolproof way to get your answers. Now remember, before you even start, always two answers, right? Remember, always two answers. That's why you have a plus or minus here. You're always going to have two answers, right? We talked about that, and that's why the plus or minus. So the quadratic formula, negative b plus or minus this big square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. This will allow us to be able to get answers for any quadratic. We're going to have to sometimes get calculator answers, but any. So how does it work? Well, A, B, and C, right? Now this problem, if I take a look at multiples of 10, won't make 8, will they?
No.
So it doesn't factor. But it will have two answers. So here's how the quadratic formula works. So let's list on the side. A is 1. B is negative 8. And C is 10. I think you'll like the quadratic formula because it always works. It's just tedious. Okay? So let's go through it. Negative b. Well, I'm going to go a negative 8. Plus or minus. We need the plus or minus because always two answers. Big square root of b squared, which is a negative 8 squared. Subtract 4 times a, and a is 1, times c, and c is 10, all over 2 times a, and a is 1. Okay, so all it entails is just putting the numbers into the place, and then I'm going to use a calculator probably because it's going to give me some ugly answers, but that's easy. So negative 8 is a positive 8, plus or minus square root. This will always be a positive number here because a negative squared is always positive. Never make this a negative number. This is going to be a positive 64 minus 40 all over 2. Okay. So I'm going to have an 8 plus or minus the square root of 24, right? All over 2. Now we're going to look at two different answers. One would be what we call the square root answer. Okay, so the square root answer would be I could take 24, and we all know 24 can be broken down into square root of 4, square root of 6, right? Which is 2 square root of 6. I'll let you catch up. Okay, I'm just going to reduce square root of 24. So I want to give you two answers. One would be the mathematical answer, the answer in root form, and then we'll do it in decimal form also. Okay, we'll do it in both. Okay, so one answer could be the 8 plus or minus 2 square roots of 6 over 2.
Can you do 4 plus?
Nice. Yep. And then like Claire said, we can then change that to a 4 plus or minus 1 square root of 6. And there's your two answers, right? And that's a great answer because that's an exact answer. It's not a calculator answer. Sometimes, though, we need a calculator answer because we need an actual answer that makes sense, right? So sometimes we will use a calculator. So on the side here,
Wait, Mr. Davies?
Yeah,
How did you get the 4?
right there.
Oh, okay. I got that.
Okay, there we go. Here's my 4. Here's my 4, right? And here's my 1. Okay? Right? Because you got to divide both. Okay, now, what if I need an answer that makes sense, like, when does it hit the ground? I need an actual answer, right? So then I'm just going to say, well, what is the square root of 24? Okay, thanks, guys. So what is the square root of 24? I don't know. I'm just going to use my calculator. I always like to do to the nearest tenth. The reason I like tenth...
5. No. 4.8.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to say 4.9 just because it's so
4.8.
close. Really? I'm going to go
Oh!
just because it's so close to 25, right, Claire?
Right. No, it's 4.9.
4.9.
You have the right second.
So it's approximately 4.9. So if you want the calculator answer, then we're going to have a 8 plus or minus 4.9 over 2. And sometimes we need a calculator answer, right? Which is the same thing as a 8 plus a 4.9 over 2, right? And, because it's plus or minus, and an 8, subtract a 4.9 over 2, right? I'm going to use my calculator to get those answers. I'm going to go 8 plus 4.9, 12.9, or divide by 2, right? Divide by 2. So the one decimal answer is about 6.45. And the other would be, let's see, what is 8 subtract 4.9 divided by 2, and about a 1.55, okay? So the quadratic formula is not difficult. It's just tedious, right? It's just kind of a pain. Who's done it before? Anybody seen it before? Yeah, I thought you did. It should be taught in Algebra 1, but it isn't always, okay? So, okay, example 2. Same thing. Same thing. We're going to let A equal 3, B is 5, and C is 1, right? Same process. And this time I think I'll just keep it as a square root answer. We will do the decimals only for doing a story problem or graphing, okay? So negative b, right? I'm going with the formula. Negative b, which is a negative 5 plus or minus big square root b squared. So I've got a 5 squared, subtract 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is 1, all over 2 times a, which is 3, okay? And you don't have to memorize the quadratic formula, okay? It's one of those things where you get to use your notes anyway, right? So then let's tidy it up. Negative 5 plus or minus big square root of 25 minus 12 over 6, which is negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 13 over 6. And that's good enough. Okay, that's a nice math answer, okay? It's a nice, we can leave that, okay? If we wanted to find out exactly what it was, we just use a calculator. We push in the square root of 13, we'd get, I don't know, probably 3 point something or other, Claire. 3.4, what do you think? Square root of 13?
Hold on.
Square root of 13?
No, you're gonna do it.
No, I'm gonna wait for you.
So.
Oh, I was off anyway.
So, wait, what's 3.7?
Close, 3.6, nice.
Okay.
Okay, turn the page. Am I doing okay? I'm not going too fast? This is what I really want. Yeah, and it's difficult because, David, a mathematician instead of a physicist or an engineer. A mathematician wants this answer. A physicist wants these answers because you want to apply it, right? I like that answer because that is the exact answer. Right? Okay, ready to turn the page? Okay, now, example 3. Find the roots. Well, the roots or zeros are the same thing, right? Roots, zeros, same thing. So we set it equal to 0. 0 equals a 2x squared minus x minus 7, okay? If it doesn't factor, we just use the quadratic formula, right? It won't factor, it won't factor. Multiple of 7, you're not going to be able to get a 1 here. So if it doesn't factor, we'll use our quadratic formula, okay? So let me write up above so you see it. It was the negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, that's it right there. I'll put it up there so you guys can see it. So I know in this case a is 2, b is negative 1, and c happens to be negative 7, right? And we'll do our negative b, so we'll go a negative 1 plus or minus the square root, big square root of a squared, b squared, which is negative 1 squared minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is negative 7, all over 2 times a, which is 2 times 2. Okay, so just plug in the numbers into the formula, okay? So far, so good? So then let's just simplify this. Double negative is a positive 1 plus or minus the square root of positive 1. Don't forget, this must be positive. You square a negative and it's always positive, right? This is where kids make a mistake, is they use their calculator. I'm going to show you real quickly on the calculator. Can you guys see out of the glare? Kids do this. They'll go -1 squared, right? Is the calculator wrong? Or did I put it in the calculator wrong? I put it in the calculator wrong because I never squared the negative, right? So be careful, okay? Don't make that mistake. A negative times negative is positive, right? 4 times 2 is 8 times 7 is 56, so it's a positive 56, right? Over 4. So I get 1 plus minus squared 57 all over 4, okay? And because of time, I don't think I'm going to do example 4, but it's the same type of thing. It's your quadratic form, okay? And it's in the book if you want to see it, all right? Because I'm running out of time. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 problems. This one says don't do C, okay? And that is it. So let's try and get some of this done before the bell rings.